Welcome back to London then. Sebastian Ocampo on pole from Revo and Marcus Nelson. 4th place is Arnett Babness Jr. Following him is Bastian Tan and Daf Sanchez. Pablo Sierra starts 7th in the 77, then it's the Red Devil and championship leader Oscar Folstad. Enoch Q starts 10th from Zach Wallace and Tommy. Then it's Ben Allen Lee at his home race. Daniel Bogdasarov starts 14th from Remy LeBeau and Tenali Gabo. Then it's U-Cable, Pierre Gasly, Aika iWorld, and Zay Lane. And at the back row, it's Mohamed Awawi and Leo. Well then, we've got a new team on the block in Trackhouse Racing. 8 eligible drivers for the championship as all 5 lights go on. And we go green for the London Prix, and that's not a very good start from Sebastian Ocampo. Look at that, Revo trying to go around the outside. 3 wide between 3 champions there. And Marcus Nelson takes the lead with his teammate Revo looking to try and go around the outside. Further back, that's Bastian Tan getting past Sebastian Ocampo. Ocampo looking for a way to go back down the inside. And Babinus Jr. in 5th looking for a way to get past both of them. Folstad's had a very good start, making up 3 positions. He's up into 6th position with 5 drivers starting this race on the highest of them being Ocampo. And he's dropped down to 5th. He's still fighting with Babinus Jr. over that position. And off 4th, they are still side by side, but out in front it is still Marcus Nelson leading the pack from Revo and Bastian Tan. Look at this from Babinus Jr. going round the outside looking, but look at that, Folstad, championship leader, almost hitting the back of the reigning World Drivers' Champion. That McLaren looks like an absolute rocket ship around London today. As look at that, Ocampo bolting from the rest of these guys. The midfield pack as chaotic as ever, but Nelson 1.7 seconds ahead of his own teammate as he now goes down the hill into Club Corner. Just trying to keep it out of the wall. That's the main aim of going through there, of course. But when you're going side by side, as you can see further back, Remy LeBeau getting a track limits warning. Everyone's made it past the opening lap quite cleanly. And it's a 2-second race lead for the man who's back in the championship. This is his return to the series for Marcus Nelson, and he's had a very good time with it. Multiple podiums, and he's going for his 2nd race win as Aika iWorld getting a 5-second time penalty on board with Aika. I keep saying Aika iWorld or just iWorld when that's not the name he's registered anymore. And of course, the only reason he's in that number 10 Trackhouse car is because Akari Lopez decided to retire mid-season right before Amsterdam. As a look at this, Nawawi versus Lane versus Leo, who we're not too sure about whether or not he will stay in the championship for the playoffs, because of course that contract that the teams and drivers have, that contract runs out at the end of the season and not the end of the postseason at Pinnacle. For the rest of the teams, yes, the contracts do end after the postseason, as we see Marcus Nelson, who's likely to make it through to the postseason quite well, and with quite the gap. Marcus Nelson, of course, fastest lap, 1:16.816 with 10 laps to go. His teammate in 2nd, if it was to finish like this, with Folstad dropping back to 8th position, this should set up a very interesting last 2 rounds of the season, with Bogdasarov likely being outside of the title fight, with Nelson and Revo being closer to Folstad than ever before, and Ocampo pretty much being the supporting act, likely to make his way up into 4th in the standings. I think we should be on for one of the greatest title fights that we will ever see in this championship. We're currently looking at an 8-way fight for the title. By the time we make it into Pinta del Este, half of those guys might be out of contention, and if we make it into Nigeria for the 2nd Nigerian race of the season, with 4 drivers still eligible to try and take the cup, that would be absolute scenes everywhere. There would be so much to talk about. As we look to Marcus Nelson, who's leading the field, going through the chicane, it's getting a lot more laggy, it seems, on board with Bastian. Of course, I think my tablet getting a little bit hotter. It's been a while since I have recorded a race. 9 to go. And Nelson's still leading. And I think, yeah, tablet's gone a lot better now. track limits warning for Leo. That's his second of the day. He gets 2 more of those, and it'll be a 5-second time penalty for track limits, which is quite embarrassing because that's getting a time penalty for not being able to stay on the track. And it's very easy to stay on the track, especially here, because there is enough space to go 3 wide, possibly even 4 wide, as you saw in the opening lap, between Nelson, Revo, and Ocampo. And Sebastian is gaining on Bastian in front of him. He looks at the inside, the 2 Philippine drivers, 2 of the best performing Philippine drivers in this championship. In fact, Ocampo being the best of all time, over 20 race wins and 2 World Drivers' Championships. And he's going to get attack mode on Bastian. Bastian does have attack mode on Revo, who is either dropping back from Nelson or increasing a gap for Nelson in case they want to pit the Dane first of the 2. Bastian still holding on to third, but not for too much longer. Look at that. The inside line is Ocampo's drag race down to the start finish, and he's going to have to wait because Tommy out of this race, and a virtual safety car with laps to go. 8 laps to go. Not Q, Cable, home driver, Daniel Baltasarov and Tenali Gabo, as well as Zay Lane coming into the pits. Sims Motorsport, this is a home race, and they're hoping to try and overtake Nissan Nismo in the championship standings. Nissan Nismo to advertise more heavily the more luxury brand of Nissan Infiniti for season 21, and there are rumors leaking that they're going to go purple instead of the hot pink that we've been seeing quite a lot. We go back racing with 8 laps to go, and it is still a DS Cheetah 1-2. That brief virtual safety car period might have just helped the DS guys, because now there's over a second between Revo and Bastian, 5.5 seconds between Nelson and Revo. That's likely down to the disparity in tyre compounds. One of them's on the softs, the other's on the mediums. And look at that, Ocampo further back. Looked as if he was going to try and make a move if it were down to perspective, but of course not quite close enough yet. And coming through club corner, and I do expect Nelson to dive in, and he does dive into the pits. Bastian close to the wall. He might be done by Ocampo here. Doesn't need to get past the fellow Philippine driver. It is Revo leading the way from Ocampo and Daf Sanchez, both DS Andretti drivers, deciding to use the hard compounds, and Andretti have confirmed that they will continue with the DS powertrain past season 22. And new regulations will be in place for season 22, as we may or may not move to a different game altogether. Just watch the space as Zach Wallace exiting the pits in 19th position. And Leo, the Trackhouse, I understand that it is the same car that they have been running since day 1, race 1, down at Trackhouse Racing. There had been little to no updates made on the Pinnacle car that was basically given to Trackhouse Racing. And with 7 to go, I'm not too sure what else the Trackhouse could do. On board with Ocampo, he's closing in on Revo, who we expect to come in quite shortly. Soft tyres shouldn't last too long, so we should see a 2-stop for everyone who's not on the hard. So the guys on the hard, it should be a 1-stop in a yellow in 3rd sector. And that's, who is that for? It's for Pablo Sierra, teammate to a championship contender in his teammate, I guess, in Daniel Baltasarov, and have both come to championship protagonists in Revo and Falstad. Iwald was running as high as 5th there for a second as he's come in for Trackhouse Racing in the number 10. Of course, he did enter under the 8 as 5-second time penalty for Leo, but that car is registered as car number 10 for, or rather, Pinnacle, and as Trackhouse did take over the entire operation, they did have to continue running the number 10 car. Alan Lee, same situation for him when he took over Santino Milan and his car. So he too has to run with the 43 up until the first race of season 21. But it is a DS Andretti 1-2. And Volstad came out of the pits in 17th position. Revo came out in 8th. So now it's all up to the Italian to just try and make up some positions. He's 5 seconds off the back of his teammate, and he's got Inocu and Pierre Gasly to try and pass as well. With 5-ish laps to go, and the fastest second to boot, I think Revo trying to get second seems very plausible. So Campo's come in for his first stop, and considering how late into the race this could be the only stop that the Philippine man makes, as Zaylane and Remy Lebeau fighting over 15th. Remy getting a track limits warning. They go side by side into club corner, keeping it out of the walls, but still alongside each other, coming through the final turn, and Zaylane holding off his fellow rookie as Leo gets his 5th track limits warning of the day. 5 of them. You're not fighting with anyone. Why are you getting track limits warning? I don't get it. As someone there who I don't think should be. No, it is Volstad in 14th. I almost thought for a second he got a puncture, and if he did, that would have been absolutely soul-crushing. Revo's found his way up into 4th. Marcus Nelson's up into 2nd, but the gap between the two DS Cheetah men is now down to 2 seconds. Remember, before they pitted, it was 5 seconds. It's now 2-ish, 3-ish seconds. And with 5 to go, I don't think that Nelson or Revo are going to be able to make it to the end. I think this race win could go to Ocampo or his teammate Daf Sanchez, or even the Red Devil for his second FEMC triumph before we become the ERL Formula E series. As we see Daf Sanchez coming through the chicane, going very wide indeed. He will likely come into the pits on board with Marcus Nelson, as yes, into the pits has come Daf Sanchez. Nelson leads. Revo is second. Remy Lebeau getting a 3rd track limits warning, sending it down the inside on Zaylane, but giving him too much space. This is the kind of aggression we love to see in this championship. They go side by side into Abbey, and Leo getting his 6th track limits warning of the day. I don't think it's his 6th, actually. I think it's his... No, it is his 6th. I'm stupid. Look at that side by side, however, between the Mercedes and the Kiro Renault man. And so look at this. Tenali Gabo getting himself ahead of Zaylane. Volstad getting past the McLaren man. Does he also get past the Sims driver? Yes, he does. Bogdasarov fighting with Ukable, who took his first World Drivers' Championship in this very location 10 seasons ago. It's wild to think that it's been 10 seasons since Ukable took his first championship. He and Nelson are the only guys to have more than 10 seasons in between their first championship and now. As Nelson coming through Stowe Turn, he leads today, and he's gonna leave today if he continues his performance with one of the best opportunities to try and take the championship. And Inocu currently in 5th position on merit ahead of Basti and Tan, and it's a virtual safety car. Sebastian Ocampo is out. Oh, there it was for a second there. The Andretti is out. 3 laps to go. In comes Ukable from 6th place for a second stop. Bogdasarov and Tenali Gabo also into the pits. Zaylane also coming in with 3 to go. Virtual safety car is ending. We get another one of those incidents. I'm not too sure what's going to happen now. I could not tell you for the life of me who would leave him winning this race. But all I know is this. That crash might have just taken Sebastian Ocampo outside of championship contention. Leaving today, there will be 52 points left on offer. Race win at both Punta del Este and Lagos, and also the fastest lap for both of them. That's the gap between 1st and 2nd that Andretti has to worry about. So Volstad being in 7th right now might be a very good thing. As we see the two DS Cheetah men coming through Stowe Turn. And the DS powertrain has dominated a lot of races in recent memory, but it has yet to take a championship. And it looks like it's going to happen with one of the two. In comes Revo for his second stop. Marcus Nelson starts lap 11 of 13. And Bastian staying out. Inocu comes in. Babinas Jr. comes in. Remy Lebeau stays out. But crucially, Oscar Volstad coming into the pits as well as his championship adversary. So where does Revo come out of the pits? I think he's going to be top 10, of course. Sanchez getting ahead of Ben Allen Lee, and he comes out of the pits behind Pablo Sierra in 8th position. 17 seconds off the race lead, and considering this is effectively an undercut because we expect Nelson to come into the pits as well. Look at the state of his mediums. This could be the race lead for Revo, and it's a virtual safety car. Bogdasarov out of the E3. Daniel Bogdasarov, a championship contender, also out in London. That's 2 of them out. That's the man who was 5th and the man who was joint 3rd. We might leave it with only 3 championship protagonists. The 2 DS guys and Falstad. And considering where Nelson is on track, he's coming through Maggots and Beckett's. He's not going to be able to benefit from that virtual safety car. No one is. And we now go back racing. Nelson now, he's going to have to be very wary about where he places that DS Cheetah car. He has to make sure that he keeps it out of the wall. On board with the Season 9 champion. Right, a second race win, stripped away from him for colliding with that wall. He keeps it out of the barriers. 18 seconds the gap to his teammate. He comes into the pits, goes onto soft tyres. He's going to not start the penultimate lap of this race in the lead. Lastientan comes in as well. Remy LeBeau comes into the pits. Dav Sanchez will stay out and starts lap 12 of 13. Ben Allen Lee and Pablo Sierra all coming into the pits. Marcus Nelson is going down the pit lane, but his teammate has come down the pit straight and has come out of the pits ahead. And New Cable goes past Marcus Nelson. It's a side-by-side battle between the Season 9 and Season 10 champions, still alongside each other with the Red Devil right behind them. This could be New Cable going for his first podium of the season. Leo's getting a 5-second time penalty for track limits. And look at that, the Red Devil getting attack mode. And New Cable didn't because he entered that part of the track ahead of these guys. But now we switch gears to the front of the pack. Revo is 2.3 seconds off of Dav Sanchez. A second place today, I believe, should take him to the top of the World Driver Standings. But it would be much, much better if he were to just win today. But it is the penultimate lap. We don't expect Sanchez to come in. His soft tyres don't look great, but he should be able to make it to the end of this race. He's 2.018 seconds ahead, 2.002 seconds, 1.9. The gap is shrinking with every passing turn. Coming through the chicane, Dav Sanchez and Revo, 1.1, 0.9. This is it. This is the lap of London that everyone has been waiting to see. Fastest lap, 1:16.6 for Revo. 0.9 seconds to gap. This is going to be him chasing after another win this season and quite possibly the championship lead. As he now rounds through turn 4, he's going to get attack mode. He's using all of his attack charge possible. He's closing in on Dav Sanchez, but he's still not quite able to do it. At this point, it's either going to be coming through Maggots and Beckett. The closest opportunity I see right now is coming into Cops. He's 2/10 of a second off the back of Dav Sanchez here. He pulls to the inside line and heading into Cops' corner. He's not quite able to make the pass yet. So now they head into Maggots and Beckett. Revo should be able to get attack mode. There he goes. He's within distance. He should be able to try and take the lead at Stowe Corner and quite possibly the championship lead in Season 20. But he's 9/10 of a second, behind the Philippine number 72. Dav Sanchez rounds Stowe Corner with soft tyres that should have come off a few laps ago and hits the wall. Sanchez is in the barriers, and Revo finally has fortune in London. His teammate comes alongside and steals the race win. Marcus Nelson wins the London E3 ahead of his teammate and New Cable in third. Falstad gets a 5-second time penalty, and look at this. There was someone who went off and got a penalty earlier on, and look at that. What a finish in London. Marcus Nelson made a last turn opportunistic overtake, the only one I've ever seen here in London, and has won the London E-Prix, getting vengeance for Season 8. This is the podium. All of them World Drivers Champions. 4 championships between all of these guys, and it is Marcus Nelson who's now trying to go for his second, and he wins for DS Cheetah ahead of his teammate Revo, and all 3 of these guys' best friends. UK Ball coming home with his first podium of the season for Braun Honda GP. Then it's Daf Sanchez, Babinus Jr., Tonelli Gabo, Enoch, the Red Devil, Zaylane, and Vastian Tan. 11th place is Remy LeBeau, then it's Mohamed Nawawi, Ben Allen Lee, Pablo Sierra, and Falstad finished in 15th due to that 5-second time penalty. Zach Wallace is 16th from Pierre Gasly, Ica World, and Leo, with your non-finishers being Daniel Bogdasarov, Sebastian Ocampo, and Tommy. In the driver's standings, Revo does lead the way, but only by 1 point ahead of Falstad and Marcus Nelson. The gap between the top three, only 4 points, and with 50 points on offer heading into the next two races, Bogdasarov, Ocampo, and Pablo Sierra are all still in mathematical championship contention. Then it's Daf Sanchez in 7th, Tommy in 8th, Remy LeBeau 9th, Vastian Tan 10th. Those are the drivers who are looking to try and get into the chase for the cup. Then it's the Red Devil, Babinus Jr., Tonelli Gabo, and Not UK Ball moves up to 15th. Then it's Ben Allen Lee, Leo, Zaylane, Mohamed Nawawi, Zach Wallace, Pierre Gasly, and Ica Iworld. In the constructors' standings, heading into the final two rounds of the championship, DS Yoshida lead the way from Renault Edams and DS McLaren TGR. Then it's DS Andretti, DS Venturi Formula E Team, Kiro Renault, Nissan Nismo, and Sims Motorsport. Then it's Braun Honda GP, Mercedes EQ, and Trackhouse Racing. We'll see you guys next time then when the Formula E Monoposto Championship returns for its penultimate round in Punta del Este.